We live in a world with strict rules for men. Be strong. Don't show weakness. Don't cry. These are the messages boys hear from a young age, shaping their understanding of what it means to be a man. They are taught to bottle up their emotions, to put on a brave face, and to never let their guard down. These expectations are deeply ingrained. They are reinforced by family, friends, and society at large. In the workplace, at home, and even in casual social settings, men are constantly reminded of their supposed roles. They are expected to be the providers, the protectors, the ones who have it all together. They make it hard for men to talk about abuse. The stigma surrounding male vulnerability is so strong that many men feel they have no one to turn to. They suffer in silence, afraid that speaking out will make them appear weak or unmanly. Because, admitting abuse feels like admitting weakness. This internalized belief is a powerful barrier. It prevents men from seeking the help they need and deserve. They fear that their pain will be dismissed or ridiculed. And society often expects men to be protectors, not victims. This expectation is not just unfair, it is damaging. It creates an environment where men feel they must always be in control, always be the strong ones, even when they are hurting deeply. This makes it even harder for them to come forward. They fear judgment. They fear disbelief. They worry that their experiences will be minimized or ignored. The fear of not being taken seriously is a significant obstacle. They fear being seen as less of a man. This fear is deeply rooted in societal norms and expectations. It is a fear that keeps many men from reaching out for support, from sharing their stories, and from finding the healing they need. This silence protects these female abusers. When men do not speak out, their abusers continue their harmful behavior unchecked. The cycle of abuse continues, and more men suffer in silence, and it keeps the victims trapped in a cycle of pain and isolation, trapped in a world where their suffering is invisible, trapped in a place where they feel they have no voice. It's time to break this silence. Men hurt too. Their pain is real. Their experiences are valid. We must create a society where men feel safe to express their emotions, to seek help, and to share their stories without fear of judgment. And it deserves to be acknowledged. Every man who has suffered in silence deserves to be heard. Every story of pain and resilience deserves to be told. Together, we can create a world where all voices are valued and all pain is recognized. Domestic violence isn't just a women's issue. It affects men too. The numbers tell a shocking story. 1 in 7 men experience severe physical violence from an intimate partner in their lifetime. And these are just the reported cases. Many men suffer in silence, afraid to come forward. The stigma surrounding male victims prevents them from seeking help. These numbers are a wake-up call. We need to recognize the scope of this problem. Ignoring it won't make it go away.
I was a successful lawyer, but I endured years of emotional abuse from my wife. She constantly belittled me. She controlled my finances. Every day felt like a battle, and I was losing myself in the process. I started to doubt my own worth and capabilities. The stress was overwhelming, and I felt like I had no one to turn to. I felt trapped and alone. The isolation was suffocating. I would sit in the dark, wondering how my life had come to this. I felt like a prisoner in my own home, with no escape in sight. The emotional scars were deep, and the pain was relentless.
I was a former athlete, but I suffered physical abuse at the hands of my girlfriend. The person I loved and trusted the most became my tormentor. The physical pain was excruciating, but the emotional betrayal was even worse. I felt like I had nowhere to go and no one to confide in. I was ashamed to tell anyone. The stigma surrounding male victims of abuse made it even harder to speak out. I feared judgment and ridicule. I kept my suffering hidden, hoping it would somehow get better on its own. I thought no one would believe me. The fear of not being taken seriously kept me silent. I felt invisible, even in a room full of people. The anxiety was crippling, and I struggled to maintain a facade of normalcy.
These stories are not isolated incidents. They are part of a larger, often overlooked issue. Men from all walks of life experience abuse, yet their voices are rarely heard. The silence surrounding male suffering needs to be broken. They represent the reality for countless men across the globe. This is a universal issue that transcends cultural and social boundaries. The pain and suffering are real, and they deserve our attention and empathy. These men are our fathers, brothers, sons, and friends. They are integral parts of our lives and communities. Their well-being affects us all. We must recognize their struggles and offer our support. Their stories deserve to be heard. By sharing their experiences, they can find healing and help others who are suffering in silence. It is time to listen and validate their pain. Their pain deserves to be acknowledged. Ignoring their suffering only perpetuates the cycle of abuse. We must create a safe space for men to express their emotions without fear of judgment. Their experiences remind us that abuse has no gender. It is a human issue that requires compassion and action from all of us. Together we can make a difference and support those who need it most. Men face unique challenges when reporting abuse. Unlike their female counterparts, societal expectations often dictate that men should be strong and stoic, making it difficult for them to admit vulnerability. They worry about not being believed. The stigma surrounding male victimhood can lead to skepticism from authorities and loved ones alike, further discouraging them from seeking help. They fear being ridiculed or shamed. The fear of mockery and judgment can be paralyzing, preventing men from opening up about their experiences. Some worry about losing custody of their children. In cases of domestic abuse, men often face the additional burden of proving their capability as caregivers, which can be an uphill battle. There's also a lack of resources specifically designed for male victims. Many support systems are tailored to women, leaving men with fewer options for assistance. Shelters and support groups are often geared towards women. This gender-specific focus can inadvertently exclude men, making it harder for them to find the help they need. This can leave men feeling lost and alone. The isolation can be overwhelming, leading to feelings of despair and hopelessness. We need to do better. Society must recognize the unique struggles male victims face and work towards creating inclusive support systems. We need to create safe spaces for men to come forward, safe environments where men can share their stories without fear of judgment are crucial. We need to provide them with the support they deserve. By offering tailored resources and understanding, we can help male victims heal and rebuild their lives. Abuse leaves deep emotional scars.
Men who experience it often struggle with depression, anxiety, and PTSD. They may turn to substance abuse to cope with the pain.
The long-term effects of abuse can be devastating. It can impact their relationships, their careers, and their overall well-being.
It's crucial to understand the psychological toll of abuse. Ignoring it only perpetuates the cycle of suffering.
The first step to change is acknowledging the problem. We need to believe men when they speak out. We need to validate their experiences and offer support. We need to challenge the stereotypes that prevent men from seeking help. It's okay for men to be vulnerable. It's okay for them to ask for help. By listening without judgment, we can create an environment where men feel safe to share their stories. Ending male abuse requires a societal shift. We need to challenge the traditional notions of masculinity. We need to teach boys from a young age that it's okay to express their emotions. We need to create a culture where vulnerability is not seen as weakness. A culture where seeking help is a sign of strength. By challenging gender stereotypes, we can create a more equitable and just society for everyone. To the men out there suffering in silence, please know that you are not alone. Your pain is real, and it's not your fault. There are people who care and want to help.
Reaching out for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. It takes courage to break the silence and seek support.
You deserve to heal, to recover, and to live a life free from abuse. There are resources available for male victims of abuse. The National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 offers confidential support 24/7. You can also find help online through organizations like the National Domestic Violence Hotline's website, thehotline.org, and the Domestic Abuse Helpline for Men at menshealth.org.uk. By educating ourselves and supporting organizations working to end domestic violence, we can all be part of the solution.